Who didn't?
The Russians never killed 30% of the population before the communists took over, 20 or 30%. No Tsar ever did that. No Christian Tsar ever did any killing on
Well, no, excuse me. They started the First World War. They started the pogroms. They brought the protocols of the Elders of Zion that was imported by Tsarist secret policemen to National Socialist Christian gangsters in Europe. How much do you think the export of Russian Orthodox anti-Semitism cost us in point of lives and war? And have you ever counted up what happened to the wars that Tsarism started and carried on, and the persecutions, and the famines, and the tortures, and the starvation, and the people who just died of neglect? Come on. You want to do this accounting? I'm here. I'm really here for you. Or what the Serbian Orthodox and the Russian Orthodox have just done in the Balkans. The most recent genocide we've seen in Europe, entirely done by a Russian and Serbian Orthodox fascists and Catholic Croatian Ustasha, grinding a whole part of civilized Europe into nothingness and bloodshed for their filthy, stupid medieval quarrels. How dare you say that any secularist, we who've opposed this kind of barbaric stuff, are on all fours with these creeps? You should take it back. You owe me an apology. You lose, Boychik. You lose, Boychik.
Please. Hey, civility. Civility.
Civility's overrated.
Not here, it's not. Peter.
Right. I think I just conceded the point that you could attribute evil acts to both religious and non-religious people, and I continue to concede it. But I think that the answer that you've just heard was shocking in its evasiveness. First of all, the most enlightened government that humanity had ever seen in terms of its own self-conceit, which of course is something that atheists are very fond of, was that of the French Revolutionary Terror, which ended by executing so many people that what is now the Place de la Concorde was ankle deep in blood, and the executioners were too tired and disgusted to continue with their work. As for the Soviet Union, in which I lived for 2.5 years of my life, to portray the ideology and regime of that country as religious is an absurdity almost beyond belief, requiring actually the most colossal nerve to make. This was a state which tried to murder God. It was a state of massacred priests, of desecrated and demolished churches, in which people were brought up with enormous energy not to believe in God. Oh, there was no establishment of religion there, and no tax breaks for priests. Nothing of that kind. A total totalitarian horror of persecution of something which people believed to their own comfort in times of the greatest trouble, and which they had to keep in their hearts privately, and especially if they were anything other than the humblest in society, and keep secret if they wished to survive without being thrown out of their homes, thrown out of their jobs, or having their marriages deliberately destroyed through persecution. That was the state of it. This was not a religious phenomenon. It is straightforwardly untrue to maintain that it was. I have conceded the evils done by my side. Why can't you just simply accept that the Soviet Union was an atheist regime which hated God? Why can't you do that?
Because it would be false, because the Russian Orthodox Church stood then, as it did with Stalin, as it now increasingly does. Black-cowled figures appear next to Vladimir Putin, current KGB thug, tyrannizer of Ukraine, Georgia and the Baltics, filthy replacement of Tsarism, filthy synthesis of Stalinism. The same Russian Orthodoxy is his official nationalist and statist ideology. There was never a moment in Russian history where the powers that be didn't find that church convenient. It may not have been convenient for you as a believer to notice it, but I am obliged to the truth in the matter. Russia was not an atheist state. It wasn't even a secular state. It was a a pseudo-religious state borrowing from the practice of orthodoxy and trading upon its teachings and its tradition. And I repeat my challenge. You, for this question to be valid at all, must propose and point out a government that adopts, or state or country or nation, that adopts the teachings of Spinoza and Einstein and Jefferson and Paine, and that fell into massacre and tyranny. And you can't do it, and so you have to look for 10th-rate substitutes.
Well, it's an impossible challenge.
No
I can find you a regime which Thomas Paine supported, which attempted to execute him as gratitude for his support, and so can you. The point is you will not accept the simple truth, which is that the Bolshevik regime, from its beginning, persecuted religion with deep and determined, violent, murderous hatred, and to maintain that this was in some way a religious phenomenon is an absurdity. To believe it is to reveal a credulity driven by an unreasoning faith in God.
Every modern state has had to go through a period of declericalization of one kind of violence or another. The Cromwellian Revolution, the Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, the wars in Spain, the wars in Italy, the French Revolution, which you mentioned, they all have to go through it. It's usually in proportion to how vile, how filthy, how cruel, how tyrannical, how greedy, how ghastly was the pre-existing clerical regime on which much of this must be blamed. But you can't say that the test of humanistic, secular, atheist values has been conducted until you've had that conducted fairly. Hitler's birthday was celebrated from the pulpit by order of the Vatican, by every church in Germany, till the last day of his regime. Do I say that makes you a National Socialist? No, I don't. No, I don't. I would know how to if I was capable of a low blow. But as you know, I'm not.
Peter, any last response?
No, it's obviously futile.
Our last
it's
question.
Invincible faith.